Oh my freaking gosh. OMG. I just spit absolute fire. I've been having like discussions with my parents because I have different political beliefs than them. I'm like left and liberal, and they're more like right and conservative, and they're my parents. I don't hate them for that or anything. It's different. So we have discussions, and we were just talking about Charlie Kirk, and I told them the opinions of the left. I said some people have opinions that I don't like this. The opinions that I've been saying is like, so first thing is like, what he said gave structure to his death. What he said, the things he said, built up to his death and ultimately was his downfall and was his death, his demise. And they were like, and they had opinions on that. But then the other thing I said was, like, and the example that I use especially for that structure is his gun violence, his thoughts on guns and gun laws and restrictions and ban and whatnot. His opinion on that, like, he said stuff like, we have to keep guns the way they are. We have to not ban guns. We have to keep guns because, like, there's always a risk that's gonna be taken. Can't abandon that Second Amendment. And then he gets shot by a gun. And what my dad brought up was that, yeah, of course, like, yeah, there's always a risk that comes with rights. And I agree with that. There is a risk that comes to having certain rights. And but why are we so, why do we have such a grip on guns? Why do we have such a tight grip on gun rights? Like, what is really the origin of that? What are the roots? And I think what the roots are is that I just, like, absolute brain blast here. I think what the roots are is that this country, I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm taking AP US history right now. US history. I'm learning about all this stuff. I'm also taking the English class, and in the English class, we talk about American literature and all this stuff with American ideals. And right now. And they correlate. They're meant to correlate. They kind of intentionally correlate. But basically, what just bubbled out of me, I don't know if probably several people have realized this, but so much of the ideals that we have built on as Americans is freedom. Literally, when you think of America, when I think of America, I think my freedoms, my rights, my right to be who I am, my right to say what I want, even if other people in my country, in the same country as I do, as I am in, don't agree with that, I still have those rights. I still have the right to express myself, and the right to say what I want, and the right to do whatever. Now, one of those rights, and even though, and originally, when people colonized, it was for religious freedom. Protestants, Pilgrims, what else? Puritans, they wanted to have religious freedoms. And freedom religious freedom. What happened over generations, over centuries, was kind of this idea of, like, religious freedom. Freedom of speech. Keeping that freedom. Now religion is up here. It's freedom of speech. Now sorry. Originally, it was up here. It was like freedom of religion. Let me restart. Freedom of religion. And then it moved down here. Freedom's still stuck with it, but now it's freedom of speech. And then it changed. Now it's freedom to... It was different types of freedoms. Voting, to speech, laws, all these different things. Right to tax. Right to do this. Right to do that. And it was also right to be our own country. Independence. Originally we were colonies, and then revolution, and then independence. Now we're states. Now we're a country. Now we're developing. And then there was a civil war. And then there was rights versus, like, North and South, free states and slave states, white people and black people, and then more people started coming along, white, Asian, black, all these different types of people, and there were so many different freedoms, and I feel like one of those freedoms that developed was in the Second Amendment. What did develop, this is not what I feel, this is what did develop, is right to bear arms. And what's happening now with gun, and we have, like, what has been happening now is that my mama, I know I mentioned both of my parents, of the uppers of them in this discussion, but what she mentioned was, Australia, gun bans. gun bans all across the country. Crime's way down compared to us, compared to America. I mean, Australia's pretty big. Not everyone inherits all the land, but like it's big. It's populated. It's not like 2 people per town. Like it's populated. And gun bans, guns are bad. And then there's also, I'm getting texts. I don't care. There's gun bans, but then there's also a really low crime rate and a lot less gun deaths and a lot less gun violence because there's no fucking guns. Excuse me, French. But, like, I think the reason why we're so hesitant to ban gun laws is because the reason why we have guns is because, well, we have a right, we have the freedom to bear arms. Freedom to bear arms. Freedom. Keyword. You know what we love in this country? Freedom. That's what I'm saying. Freedom is such an integral part of our Constitution, of all the wars that have been fought, like War of 1812, Revolutionary War, French and Indian War, whatever you want to say. Freedom has been the integral part of why we do the things we do, why we have the right to bear arms, why we have the right to drink. Prohibition Acts, remember that? People didn't like that. Economics, I don't know crap about economics. I literally can't remember a lick of what I've been taught about the economics and economic structure of America and that changing through history. I cannot remember all the acts and the taxes and whatnot, but all of that has like trickled down. And like we have these freedoms, so we should also have these freedoms. No, we should also have these freedoms. And since this is, oh my gosh, we should totally have these too. One of those being right to bear arms. And I think the reason why we're so hesitant is because freedom is so integral. We cannot release one thing. We cannot release the right to bear arms because that's taking away our freedom. What do you mean? Because you know what the right to bear arms does? It increases crime rate, it increases gun violence, it increases deaths, it increases school shootings, it increases all this other stuff. And you're saying, oh, but we should keep guns because it's our freedom, it's our right. What? What? I'm sorry. What? Actually. Can we, take a step back? And let's take a step back. Because you're saying it's okay for us to bear arms. Even if people die. Because it's our freedom. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? You cannot be serious when you say, oh, you know what? We should bear arms. Even if it kills people. Because, that's the risk we take. Getting another text. That's the risk we take. Are you serious? Or is human life worth your right? If I say I have the right to kill someone, that sounds a lot different than I have the right to bear arms, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I mean, the right to bear arms versus the right to kill someone. The right to bear arms kind of can connect to, that means I have means to kill someone. Doesn't mean you have the right. Murder is not okay. Not condemning murder here. But you have to understand the risk that comes with guns is not worth the freedom. I think it's more okay to not have the freedom than to have more death. If that makes sense. I feel like there's a better way to put this. I just can't get it out right. But we have to latch off America. I'm not saying left or right. This is not politics, okay? This is not parties and shit. I'm being serious as a nation because gun deaths, literally, let's take Charlie Kirk, okay? Let's take Charlie Kirk. As a human person, he did not deserve to die. That's it. However, no matter what side you're on, you have to understand that in his position and the things he was saying, inherently was the structure, was the building blocks, were the chains that ultimately connected him, his words, and his death. You can't ignore that. You cannot ignore that because it's real. You can go on all his past tweets. You can go through all the records. You can go through everything. You will find things that he says that would justify his death. Actually, it doesn't justify his death even. It explains it. It really explains it fully. Like, seriously, I can't take the time. I'm busy. I'm a working man. But if you look through everything, and that's what we're saying, is that it's not taking away freedom. It's not taking away a freedom, because looking at everything, looking at like, oh, if I don't get to do this, you're taking away my rights. Are you 12? Like, if an adult man came up to me, if an adult man was like, you're taking away my right to bear arms, I don't like that. Sorry for giving a country accent. That was kind of assuming. But if someone came up, if someone just said that, you have to understand, wait, but you really, and if they were, killing people, you're taking away their right to bear arms, and then they were using their arms to kill people. Wouldn't it be okay to take away that freedom? You get reprimanded when you cross the line. If you cross the line and you take advantage of a freedom, that's when that freedom should be taken away. That's what gun laws are trying to... That's what people are saying with gun laws, is that we do actually need to ban guns. Because school shootings and deaths and this and that and gun violence and worsening and worsening and worsening and worsening. What do you think is going to happen? I think me and a lot of other people are going to say things are going to snap. Things are going to break. And guess what? Whose fault is that going to be? It's going to be ours. And you can say, well, people fought for those freedoms. People fought for the freedom to bear arms. People fought for the freedom of free speech and religion and this. You say people fought for that. You know what people didn't fight for? To die to keep those freedoms. Wait. Back up. I missaid that. If you have freedoms that people died for, and then people die from, those people that are dying from those freedoms, what did they mean? Because I think they're just dying for no reason. They're the result of people's freedom. And if those people that died for those freedoms, they are respected. No shit. They are respected, and they are taken into account, and they are actually considered. No der. But you cannot, no matter which side you're on, you cannot ignore the deaths that it's causing. You can't. You really can't. You cannot ignore what gun violence, the death that gun violence is causing. Even if it's... My dad made the comparison. Papa. He made the comparison that, you know what? Well, gun violence is a lot less... Well, the death by gun violence is a lot less than drug overdose. Sorry? I understand drugs usually... I think the first thing that he was assuming was drugs that came in illegally or were sold illegally or illegal drugs, basically. What about drugs and humps? And what about drugs that were this, that? And you could also buy the guns. What about guns that were bought legally and bought for hunting purposes? Just because you buy a gun for hunting purposes doesn't mean you can't shoot a person in the head. And just because you buy drugs for, I don't know, getting high purposes, it's just, I feel like that's not a good comparison, in my opinion, because drugs and guns, the act of drugs is not to commit violence. The act of drugs is to get high. And also, a lot of people are addicted. Addiction is real, and it's a mental problem. It's guns. You aren't addicted to shooting guns. You may get trigger happy, but you aren't addicted to, I digress. But you can't... There's the difference between a right to bear arms and what bearing arms can cause. Because if bearing arms really causes, 100 school shootings a year, I don't think we should have that freedom. And it's not even a freedom at this point. It's just a choice to be violent. I don't want to go to a school every day with a cop. I really don't. I'm sure the cop's nice. can't even be serious about that. Like, I'm sure to some level that cop doesn't have evil intentions. You know, he isn't assuming everything about every kid. You can't generalize one cop, but also you can't generalize one cop, but you also can't take your risks. He has a gun. Like, do we think giving guns to more people will solve the gun problem? You think putting more police officers in schools will reduce gun violence in schools? What about just eliminating the problem from its roots, which is right to bear arms? And it's not even saying, and I don't think we're so attached to freedom, this idea of freedom. I don't think we understand the difference between the idea of freedom and doing what we want. Because what we want is to shoot, is to be violent, get angry, get mad, shoot a fucking deer. Sometimes you don't get that right. Sometimes you have to actually learn how to be healthy with your anger. And healthy and understanding with, like, I'm mad, I'm traumatized, I'm this, I need to do something about it. Well, guess what? There are other outlets besides shooting up a fucking school and taking your, like, the book it's by Jason Reynolds. I think it's A Long Way Down.
Okay, I have to go fast. I've tried taking this like 3 times. What I was saying in the other clip was, so Jason Reynolds wrote this book called A Long Way Down, and it's about a boy who gets involved with gun violence. He lives in like a shitty neighborhood. His brother died because differing circumstances, and that it led to his brother's death. And so he gets wrapped up in gun violence, and it's about the cycle of violence, gun violence, and how, like, doing something to get back at someone with more violence because they committed an act of violence on you does not end violence. It keeps it going. And that also includes gun violence. I think we can if we use our critical thinking skills, we can easily apply that to gun violence. And I think the point I was trying to make in that other clip was, when we try to think rationally. As people, we try to think rationally. We are all up in our emotions. There is no matter who you are, you get wrapped up in your emotions. Just a little bit. You get defensive, or you get this, and you like your emotions. You listen to your emotions better than you listen to your head. So, if you're angry, and you have access to a gun, and you're like, what if I try shooting this? What if it makes you feel better? And then you do it, and it does. Do you think that ends what do you think that does? That gets you, like, trigger happy. That makes you think, you know what, maybe this will solve more of my problems. You know, maybe I can keep using this gun. And you know what, I have all the fucking school that I always got bullied at, and all my teachers treated me like shit. But you know what, I'm so mad. I'm so goddamn mad. What do you think that causes? Really? And, like, the thing with gun violence is that putting cops in schools doesn't stop gun violence. It protects kids, sure. But you know what will really protect kids? You know what will really protect people dying of gun violence in the streets? It's not eliminating anything, it's getting rid of guns. Sure, but other people will find other ways to die. Violence will arise other ways. But you know what gun violence will do? It'll put it way down. It'll put it here, again here. It'll take it down a couple notches. And I think that's worth it. I think it's worth it to strip away our rights. If you want to call it that. Strip away our goddamn rights. Oops. As long as, 7-year-olds stop dying, as long as kids my age don't have to imagine, I'll be honest, and I know, I've talked to my friends about this. I think about being in a school shooter situation, like what I do, and how I'd protect my friends. Obviously, I couldn't. It's a gun, but I have dreams. But, that's what people think about. That's what kids think about. They think about, what am I going to do if there's a school shooter? Because it's so ingrained in our heads. We're used to it. We're used to it, really. And I mean, like, do you really think putting a cop in a school is going to solve this? No. It's not. It will not solve things. Getting rid of guns will. Because I don't want to live in a time where there's going to be riots, and there's going to be fights, and there's going to be war in the fucking streets because we can't get rid of guns. Because we can't take a second and realize, wait a minute, we shouldn't be doing this. I don't want to fight my neighbor. I don't want to fight someone that I know and I just disagree with. Because I'm done. I'm done. I'm really done. All this freedom shit, it's bull. It's crap. It's dumb. I'm done. I can't. I really can't. Ask any kid my age of either side of the political spectrum. I promise you, they think about school shootings too, because no one's safe in this country. As long as you keep guns around, there will always be a threat. I don't like, what's the right to bear arms gonna do? Protect you? You know what's probably gonna protect you more? Not having guns in the first place. Yeah. So, you know what? Stay safe. End this bullshit. Seriously, I'm done.